Look how vulnerable apparently the White House is.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
or different malls and
Yeah.
airports.
All the airports that are on alert for some kind of
Oh, yeah.
terrorist attack. You know, they're not saying anything specific. They're just.
Yeah.
Uh,
I keep saying I'm going to read one more thing, but I got ready to read what Pike said. His plan, the plan of the insiders for World War III. It says, "We shall unleash the nihilist." Now Hitler was a nihilist, and the atheist, and we shall provoke a formidable social cataclysm. In other words, they're going to provoke a war, which in all of its horror will show clearly to the nations the effects of absolute atheism. In other words, atheism, they know that there's no atheism, but this was something that they were serving up to the masses as something, a rallying cry to rally around.
Right.
It was the antithesis to Christianity and freedom in the West. That's why they held it up. Okay, it says it's going to show to the whole world show clearly to the nations the effect of absolute atheism. In other words, this is what you get when you embrace no God. Okay, and it says, in the origin of savagery and of the most bloody turmoil. It says, then everywhere the citizens obliged to defend themselves. So in other words, they're going to force the attack. They're going to force the citizens to defend themselves against the minority of revolutionaries, will exterminate those destroyers of civilization. And the multitude disillusioned with Christianity, in other words, the multitude of Western nations are going to be so disillusioned with Christianity because of, the abuses of the Catholic Church and because of the state of the Christian Church in America.
Right.
They're going to be so disillusioned with atheism and Christianity after this war takes place. And it goes on to say, whose deistic spirits will from that moment be without compass. Now, we've heard the statement that everybody has a God-shaped vacuum, even though everybody doesn't know it, and that it can only be filled by God. In other words, there's a desire in every human being to worship something. So they're going to fill that desire by this new Antichrist. It says, whose deistic spirits will from that moment be without compass or direction. They're going to be anxious for an ideal, but not knowing where to render its adoration. Will receive the pure light through the universal manifestation, the externalization of the hierarchy. Universal manifestation of the pure doctrine of Lucifer brought finally into public view. So Alice Bailey and Albert Pike and all the Freemasons are talking about the same thing. He even talks about in this book, some of the pages that I wanted to read, how the Catholic Church is nothing more than our modern day sacred mysteries that they had in Babylon. Of course, we know that because we've been studying that, but the rest of the world doesn't know that. They still look at the Catholic Church as a Christian church. Mm-hmm. How many of you watch TBN sometimes? Trinity Broadcasting Network? Mm-hmm. They're doing such a powerfully marvelous job in getting all the Christian denominations together.
Yeah, and the Catholics really support TBN quite a bit.
Yeah.
Really?
If you look at it, they have that upside down dove. Anyway, I was reading in a book how the upside down dove is the secret Jesuit symbol, and about how the cross with the circle is one of the symbols that they use. Yeah, no, I mean a lot of people know that. Yeah.
So Pat Robertson is part of TBN,
Well, he's part of Mason. I found recently he's part Mason, part Masonic. But anyway, it goes on to say that they're looking for an ideal and not knowing where to render its adoration, will receive the pure light through the universal manifestation of the pure doctrine of Lucifer and brought finally out into public view. A manifestation which will result from the general reactionary movement which will follow the destruction of Christianity and atheism, both conquered and exterminated at the same time. So Christianity, the bastion of Christianity, the powers of the West, headquartered by the United States, and atheism, championed by hammer and sickle, Russia, they're going to be brought into a war. And what's left of them, the people that are going to be so horrified by Christianity as represented by the beast with horns like a lamb that spoke like a dragon, and atheism, which no God at all, which is the antithesis, they're going to be brought to a synthesis by the pure so-called doctrine of Lucifer. That's their plan. And the reason why I know this is what the Bible is true is because it's the same thing that the Bible prophesies. And it's going to be so horrible in nature that the people on earth are going to feel that they have no choice but to
worship the Antichrist then.
Yeah, basically.
So there's going to be a lot of destruction and war before this mark comes about.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
That's right.
We're in a prime spot to get bombed too.
Excuse me?
We're in a prime spot to get bombed.
Yeah.
In Seattle or Washington?
Well,
Seattle.
Seattle area.
One of my friends that was studying at the Fort Steilacoom. I think it was Fort Steilacoom at the time, before they changed the name to Pierce College. They were telling us that if anything should ever happen between the United States and these are some of the Islamic students that were studying there. They were saying that if anything should ever happen between the United States and Iran, because there was a big controversy between the United States and Iran at the time, they said don't go into any of the malls and don't go into any of the great shopping centers because those are big targets for bombing.